And let's go.
Let's go. Hey, just a quick housekeeping. There's a lot of people on the call today, so this is a webinar. I want you to know that everything's being recorded, and the recording will be available sometime next week. So don't feel like you're missing out on anything. You'll just be able to pick it up next week also. If you have a question, and if you have a question pertaining to what we're doing or what we're talking about today, put the question in the Q&A. It's easier for us to follow the Q&A. The chat goes so fast that we just can't stay with it if you've got a question. You've got a number of people here on the call, a number of the co-leaders who are monitoring the Q&A, and we'll try to get an answer back to you, or the presenter will get an answer back to you. If you're going to use the chat feature, be sure to select everybody so that everybody can see what you're where you're coming from and any comment that you might have. Klaus, let's go on to the next one here. We've talked about this before. This is your meeting. We're here because of you. We plan on these meetings taking place every 6 to 8 weeks. We've already scheduled the next meeting. The next meeting is going to be December the 1st, and we're going to have a link at the end of this presentation, so that you can sign up for that meeting. There's 2 presentations in each meeting. Klaus and I go into a how does that work presentation, and today we're going to be talking about charts, but we're going to be talking about charts 101, the first lesson in charts, and next month we're going to follow that up with the second topic on charts, because it's a very broad topic. And then we have a featured speaker and a guest speaker from the community, and today we are thrilled to have Heide with us. Klaus, do you want to introduce Heide?
Yeah, I love to introduce Heide. We can also talk about the agenda first, or we can introduce Heide first.
Yeah, I got a little ahead of myself.
No problem. Really excited to have Heide here. Heide is a fellow German from Lübeck. Is that right, Heide? Yeah. Heide is a Tableau ambassador for several years already, and she's the founder and co-leader of Dehner and Women Germany. And she works as a senior consultant at Woodmark, also in Germany, I think in Düsseldorf mainly, right? So a little bit of the great places from Germany. And Heide and I, we have a common past. We met first time, I think, at conference in London in 2018. And some of you might have heard of Iron Viz, just started the global qualifier for the 2023 Tableau conference. And I participated in Iron Viz in 2018. And Heide, and I will show you her great viz that inspired my Iron Viz. Heide created a really cool map that time. And what you see here is a trapezium time map. And this is what Heide created, and that inspired me to create my viz that I showcased on stage in London that time. And that actually secured me the win of Iron Viz. So thanks again, Heide. This is forever in my heart, and it was really great to meet you that time. And thanks again for taking the time to present here today and to show your really amazing quick tips. And I'm sure the people will be blown away by what you are going to present. Okay.
I can't tell you how glad we are to have Heide, because Heide is an absolute super force in the community. And yeah, don't laugh it off. You know you are. She's the co-founder of Data Plus Women, but she's an absolute superstar. So we are thrilled to have you here with us today. Okay, I'm sorry, Klaus. I stepped on your line there. So.
Yeah, I mean that's basically it, right? So we will do a little intro again. So there will be for sure some newbies today. So we'll do a little introduction round, and then Jim and I will talk about the topic for today, basic visualizations. We'll talk a little bit about how data visualization actually works, and we'll get you started with some basic charts and Tableau. And then Heidi will take over and will blow us away with her quick tips. And then we will do some fun again at the end of the session. And there will be, most likely, there will be a Kahoot. Okay, yeah, the team. Again, there will be some new users. We are around a group of 8 people who come together all 6 to 8 weeks to organize this webinar and to put together the content. Yeah, maybe Reyes, do you want to start a short intro and then hand it over to the others?
Yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Reyes. I've been a Tableau user for just about 2 years now, and I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado.
Laura, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Laura. I have been using Tableau for about 1.5 years, and I'm still kind of newbies like you. I've been trying to learn, but I've been getting sidetracked on the side. So a lot of the things that Jim and Klaus share here are still new to me. So I'm kind of in the same boat as everybody else. Although I've been using it for 1 year, I'm still learning. And this group has been so valuable to me, and I've learned so much. So I'm so glad everyone is able to join. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Viraj, do you want to go next?
Hi, this is Viraj. I'm from Mumbai, India, and as everyone say, and I keep repeating it again, I am newbie by heart. It's always learning. Tableau is that awesome. We have never experienced enough to say that okay, we know everything, but yeah, this is awesome group to be part of, and welcome aboard.
Thank you,
And
Viraj.
I'm Jim
Go
Dehner.
ahead.
I live in Nashville, and Klaus and I are the co-founders of this group. I've been using Tableau for about 6 years. We may have met on the forum where I've been an ambassador now for the past 6 years, and I'm a Tableau visionary, and this is the second term as a Tableau visionary. Klaus?
Yeah, and my name is Klaus. I've been using the product since July 2017, something like that. And in my day job, I'm a professor at Münster University of Applied Sciences. So my background is in accounting, and I'm teaching actually Tableau to my students at university. And I love to be active in the community, share stuff on Tableau Public. Yeah, and I'm also a Tableau visionary, and I'm also proud to be part of this group together with the team. And I think this has really been a great initiative so far, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Okay, I think we don't have Horace and Enid with us today, so we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so how does that work? This is the 6th episode of the first season. So we've looked already at different topics. We've shared very basic topics like connecting to data, what are dimensions and measures, what is the order of operations. We talked about calculations, about table calculations in specific. And we thought when we prepared this meeting, okay, I think it's really time to get visual, because we've showcased many tables so far, at least in my what I can remember. And Tableau really is not about creating tables, but about creating visualizations. And therefore, this session today is about basic visualizations. I mean, you will have already created visualizations, but we want to share some backgrounds about how visualization actually work and why are they so good to share information, and why are they so effective. And then Jim will do a little demo and show you in Tableau some tricks, for example, how to use Show Me, and just how to create the most basic visualizations. Okay, so I've actually taken this from one of my lectures, and this is what I always share with my students when we start talking about why is visualizing data so important, and why do our brains process images faster. this is based on, this is an analogy on the work of Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, was a bestseller, I think in 2010 or 12 or something like that. And when you look at these emojis, the good thing is I don't have to explain these. So you look at these faces and you know that one at the top left is a smiling one, that at the bottom right seems to be tired. This at the top right has had some delicious food, seems like that. You know, I don't have to explain that because this is when our system one comes into place. Now, we are able to perceive these faces, and we know immediately what this is about, because when we see these faces, our system one, comes into place. This is fast, it's automatic, it's always active, because we've learned it over years, over thousands of years of evolution. We know what these faces mean, because that was really important for us to, or for mankind to survive and to make that progress that we've made. Now I want you to really look into your head and see what happens when I activate your system 2, and you will see that is a little bit different. You see that equation, and I would do it like, okay, 10 times 17 is 170, 3 times 17 is 51, okay, that's 221. Okay, so we get to the result, but that's very much different from system 1, because our system 2 is slow, it's really active, it's logical, it's literally calculating in this example. And when we create data visualizations, we obviously try to activate a system 1 to have a faster way to the information and to the insights within the data and within the data. Okay. And there's another nice analogy. So system 1, I mean, we can calculate this result. It takes some time, and when you want to compare it to a computer, system 1 is like taking information from the hard disk, and system 1 is like the working memory, which is always active and which just is way quicker to work with than with a hard disk. Okay, when we talk about system 1, and then the question is, how can we trigger system 1? And this is where the pre-attentive attributes come into place. And this is these are the attributes we use when we visualize data and when we work with data in Tableau. And when you look in here at the left side into these packages, there's always one element that is different from the others, and our attention is immediately drawn and focused to this element being different. Yeah, like here in this one, there is one bar a little bit longer. Here in this one, the circle here is bigger. Here there is another shape. Here is another shading of gray, and here's another color. Here's another position. So I don't have to explain that. We see that, and this is why we are so good at taking information from visualizations, because our system 1 is triggered. It's very much the same with color. So we have these sequential color palette here at the top, and we use that in visualization to indicate higher values with a dark or a darker shade of a color, and a lower value, for example, with a lighter shade of that color. Or we have diverging color palettes. We use that, especially in my profession in controlling and accounting, with red and green or red and blue to indicate if something is good or bad, if we have a deviation, for example. Or we use distinct colors with categorical data, right? To being able to realize which categories we have, for example. Yeah, and this is the technique, let's say, that is in place when we create data visualization. So when you look into Tableau, you will see the marks cards. And within the marks cards, you see these pre-attentive attributes as tiles. And you can encode your visualization with variables by dragging them onto color, onto shape, or onto size. Or you can define the positioning in a bar chart or a line chart by dragging your variables on the columns and rows shelf. Or you can select from different mark types to switch between bars and lines or a scatter plot, for example. Yeah, so this is how pre-attentive attributes are incorporated into the product. And the challenge with creating data visualizations actually is to make good use of the pre-attentive attributes. Yeah, because they help us to direct our audience's attentions to where we want them to focus on. And this is why you always have to think about, okay, which pre-attentive attributes do I want to use to focus the attention on? And that means it's most of the time a bad idea to use them all at the same time. For example, color and size and a shape, but it's better to use them strategically. So really think about, okay, in which way is the best way to really bring that information to the top that you want to communicate. And also with using more than one or several pre-attentive attributes at the same time, it can get busy very, very fast. And what I think is a good recommendation is to try to keep your view clean and simple, and really focus on bringing that information that you found in the data to the top. Yeah, so this is a little bit of background about how data visualization actually works, and what we've prepared, or what Jim in particular has prepared for this demo that is now going to come is, first of all, Show Me. Some people laugh about Show Me and say, oh, I never use Show Me. I did when I was a newbie, because I think it's really a great way to get into the mood and just try to learn to create really basic charts. Then Jim will also talk a little bit about axes, because it's often all about axes, and we have combined axes, dual axes, individual axes. Just make that topic a little bit clearer to you. And with regards to that recommendation to keep a view clean and simple, Jim will also share some formatting 101. Is that correct, Jim?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm sorry, I'm still working on 13 times 17, and I got lost there a little bit. So I'll have it before the end of the meeting. Let me share my screen. Okay, and I got to move some things around so that we can see what we need to see here. Okay, very good. I want to talk today first about how you go about making a chart, and I want to start very simply with Show Me. And if you can see, I opened up Show Me, and Show Me right now doesn't do anything. Everything's grayed out on Show Me. But if we wanted to make a chart, and let's say we're going to make a chart and we want to use the order date, and I'm just going to hold down the Control key, and along with order date, I want to put category on that chart, and I want to look at sales. You can see over here that Show Me has now changed. Show Me has come back, and some charts are still grayed out, but it's come back and it said, hey, you can use any of these types of charts to show those three variables. And in fact, one of those is highlighted here with an orange frame around it. And if you hover over that, it'll come back eventually and tell you that that's the recommended chart. So let's just throw that on the screen and take a look at what the recommended chart looks like. And it's blue pill, it's a discrete pill on the column, on columns for years, and we've got sales and category has been placed on color so that we can see what the different categories are. I'm just going to bring this over here, and then I'm going to open up Show Me again because we want to get back to it. And if I open this up, and you've probably done this yourself, it becomes quarters, and then it becomes months. And the chart looks awfully busy, and it's not really the chart that we wanted to see. We didn't want this discontinuity. And if we look back at this chart, this example over here, this is a discontinuous chart. It's a discrete chart. Well, this guy right next to it is a continuous chart. So we can go over and we can pick the continuous chart. Right away, the pill has become a green pill, and I'm just going to open that up. We're now looking at quarter on a continuous axis, and we see the quarters by year, where previously we were looking at discrete quarters. So now using Show Me, we've got the chart that we'd like to see. We'd like to see a continuous line chart. We've got categories on color. So sure enough, we can see the colors on the chart. We're looking at sales. I would kind of like to see the trend on the chart. What's happening throughout the years and throughout the quarters. So I can come to the Analytics tab, and I can grab trend line, and I can bring it onto the chart. And you have your choice of linear trends or exponential trends or polynomial trends or the like. We're just going to drop it on linear. And now 3 lines have been added to the chart, and they represent the trends in each one of these categories. And I'm going to put categories on filter so that we can kind of look at these independently here. And I want to see that, show the filter. So we can decide what categories we want to look at, or we can look at all of them. And if I hover over the category, over the trend line, we can get the equation for the linear equation for that individual trend line. So we've created our first graph. Now I want to go back to Show Me, and I want to show you something here. Let's go back to that recommended chart, and we can go back to this chart. And this is the chart we started with. This was the recommendation, and you can see the trend lines disappear. Trend lines will only work on a continuous chart, so we've got to go back to the continuous chart. Now, bear in mind that all these other chart types are available with the variables that we selected, and you're going to have some homework after this because, as I mentioned before, at our next meeting, we're going to go deeper into charts. We'd like you to practice making charts over the next month, and if you have questions, just reach out to us so that we can. Maybe we can help you with those questions. Okay, I have to move something else over here. Okay, now I'd like to go on to a next type of chart, and we started. This is a sort of a continuation of the chart that we had just looked at. We've got month on columns, and that's a continuous month, and on rows we've got sales, and this is the same type of chart that we were looking at. But now I'd like to add profit to this chart. And I'm going to drop profit here on rows. And as we do that, and I'm going to hide Show Me here, just move it out of the way. As we do that, we can see we've created a second chart. We've got sales on the upper chart, and we got profit on the lower chart, and they're plotted over the same months. Okay. We can make this what we call a dual axis chart. We can put both charts on the same chart. I'm going to right click this pill, and I'm going to come down to dual axis. And now we've created a dual axis chart. Now in Tableau, we have 2 layers. You can think of them like layers on a map. We have 2 layers. You can put 2 charts or 2 chart types on a visualization. And I'm going to show you a way to get around that a little bit, but not a great deal. So we are limited to 2 different chart types. So now we've got sales and we've got profit on a dual axis chart, and we can see that, well, we know that sales here varies up to 120,000, and profit is much less than that, as you would expect. So these axes are not on the same basis. Well, we can change that by right-clicking the axis and then synchronizing the 2 charts. So now our 2 charts are in sync. We know by month what the sales were and what the profits were. Well, you know, I kind of like to go a little further. I kind of like to understand a little bit more about this chart. And to do that, I'm going to use another trick that we've got, if you will. I'm going to add a filter for measured names and measure names. And you, let's see, you get that right here, bring it up on filter, and I want to show the filter. And I've selected sales and profit on measure names, and then I can come back on, excuse me, measure values, and I'll place measure values right here on rows, and we get that same chart. This is the same chart that we were looking at. This is the dual axis chart. And this is that same chart that we created before, except now I'm using measure name and measure value to put those two lines on the same layer in our graph here. So I still have one layer that hasn't been used, and I can come back and I can use that layer. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to take an average daily sales, and this is just a formula for the average daily sales. We take the sum of the sales each month divided by the count of the days, the order dates in that month, and we get average daily sales. And I'd like to add that to this chart, and I'm just dragging it up. And now we've got a third graph, if you will. We've got sales, we've got profit, and we've also got average daily sales. And if you notice, in doing that, I now have a separate marks card that is open up, and I'm going to look at average daily sales. And I'd kind of like that not to look like a line graph. I'm going to take a different chart type here, and we can take a look at vertical bars, and we can place that on there. And I'd like the color to be a lot less saturated. So then now we're looking at something like this, and I can overlay these charts one on another. And we go back, right click, value there, dual axis. And now we can see our average daily sales and profit all on the same chart, all on the same visualization. So we're able to actually see three different metrics on the same chart. Okay, well, that's clearly an advantage. I'd like to go on and take a look at a different type of chart now. We'd like to look at a horizontal bar chart where we're going to compare the sales as parts to a whole. So I've already placed on the chart the year of the order date and the category, and I want to come back and I want to look at sales. Now we've created a horizontal bar chart. Okay, and that's good as far as it goes. I'm going to sort this, and by getting this icon here, we're able to sort in each category, so we're able to go high to low. Everything's blue at this point. I'd like a little bit of color differentiation in there, and now we can take a look at by category what sales were in each period. Still not too much showing us as comparing the parts to a whole. We can come up to this chart, and if you remember, Ann Jackson last time was talking a lot about table calculations. We can convert that from sales to the percent of total, and we've converted that chart. We're no longer looking at sales, but we're looking at percent of sales. And what I'd like to do is move category just on color. And now we're looking by year, the percent of sales, but this is the percent overall. I'm going to open this up and edit the table calculation as Ann showed us last time to table across. And now we're looking at a chart that compares the sales in each category as a percent of sales for the total year. Okay. It's kind of clunky at this point. It does some things that we really don't like we know the total is going to be 100%, but the axis here shows 105%. So let's change, and we're going to do a little formatting here. Let's edit the axis. And when we edit the axis, we can come and make that a fixed axis, and we want the endpoint to be 1.0. So it totals 100%. And I'd like to change these tick marks so that they are fixed at 0.1 or 10%. So it goes 10, 20, 30, up to 100% based on tens. It's still a little, still need to make some additional changes to this. I'd like to change the title. And to do that, I'm going to click on the title itself. And right now, the title is nothing more than the sheet name. Well, let's take that off of there. I don't need that name in there. What I would like to do, and I like my titles to be a bit larger. We're going to make it larger. And we're also going to make it bold, and I want to center it. And we can call this category percent to total. Okay, and we can just put that in there. Now we've made that change. I'd like a little bit. I'd like these years to be bold. I'd like to change the format on those, and we can do that by just. I'm sure somebody in California is certain that my insurance isn't. I need to adjust my insurance or something. I'm sorry, that's my phone going off. So I'm going to change the font here to about 12, and let's make that bold. And now we can see that a little bit better. Something's going on here. This is the year of something. And what I'd like to do on that format also is to align it. We're going to turn that piece on. Okay. And on the axis itself, I'd like to edit the axis and change that font to about 12 also. So now we're beginning to look like a chart that might provide more information to our end user than the default chart that we initially had. So you can make a lot of changes, and you can impact the visual look of the chart in a way that makes sense to your end user. Now I've got an additional chart type that I'd like to spend a little bit of time on, and we'd like to see what the sales are, and I'm going to drag sales 2 columns, and right away the default creates a horizontal bar chart. At the same time I'm looking at sales, I'd like to look at profit. And now our chart type has changed, and we've got a single point on the chart. And while that single point is interesting, it doesn't provide a whole lot of detailed information, but we can change this chart type. And we can change this chart to show us more information by dragging other categories or regions. And I'm looking for a location here to color. And now we can see the 4 regions and the sales and profit, and the sales and the associated profit in each one of those 4 regions. And we can go further than that by dropping category on the chart. And we can associate that with different colors, so that now we can see category by region. And if we were to come in and look here and filter, now we can look at the regions independently or all together. The scatter plots have a lot of use. We can even go to the extent that we turn off the aggregation, and now we're looking at the record level, and we can see each the sales and the profit by each record. And we can take a look at all of them at once, or we can filter and look at them independently. Okay. And we can do it this way also, if we're just looking at regions, for example, and we want to highlight just an individual region, like this would be the Eastern region, or the Southern region, or the Western region. Well, we've taken a look at 4 different chart types and give you an idea of how to use Show Me and how to use formatting to make your charts more impactful. Like I said, next month actually it's December the 1st, our next meeting on December the 1st, we're going to go a little deeper into charts. We'd like you to spend some time with charts between now and then. And if you have some questions, post those questions. And maybe we'll be able to address some of those live during the meeting.
Yeah.
Klaus, I'm going to turn this back to you at this point.
Yeah. Maybe one little thing about Show Me, because you should show me in a way. So you selected the variables and then you turn to Show Me and created the chart. You can also do it the other way around, right? So for example, I could never memorize how to create a pie chart, and therefore I went to Show Me. I clicked on Show Me, and then Show Me says, okay, you have to take one dimension and maybe 1 or 2 measures. And then okay, this way I created pie charts at least in the first 3 years. And that's another way of using it. And you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Good.
Show Me is an absolute great way to get started. And it's also kind of like your life vest. When all of a sudden things start going wrong, go back to Show Me and it'll show you what you need to add at that point.
Yeah. Okay, good. And also about formatting, you can always right-click at everything and select that format option, and you are able to select the fonts, font colors. You can do shadings, borders, lines. I mean that whole formatting thing is a topic on its own, but whenever you want to do something, right-click and go to the formatting dialog, and you will find something you can change. Okay, Jim showed us three or four charts today. The first one was about change over time. The second one, the stacked bar chart, was about part to whole, and we had magnitude as well in the bar chart. So these are the relationships Jim wanted us to show in his visualizations. And when Jim said we are going to dig into that a little bit deeper next time, then we will also look at other chart types and at other relationships you can display with these chart types. And I'm sure many of you will have come across the visual vocabulary from the Financial Times. And this is one of my favorite resources to just get inspiration on which chart type to use when I want to show a certain relationship in my data, from deviation over correlation, ranking, distribution, and so on and so on. And we will dig into this financial vocabulary a little bit next time. In the meantime, two great resources we want to share with you. The first one is the visual vocabulary from Andy Kriebel. Andy Kriebel, a longtime Zen master visionary, he has created this Financial Times visual vocabulary in Tableau. And you can go to his Tableau public profile or just follow the link in the presentation. And you can browse his workbook and see all these chart types from the visual vocabulary in one workbook. I think you can even download that workbook and play with it on your computer. So that's a great resource. I think it's even the most viewed workbook on Tableau Public. Beyond 3 million views, 4,000 favorites. That's amazing. And the other resource I want to share with you is the Chart Maker directory by Andy Kirk. And in this directory, you again have all the chart types here in the first column, and you have the different charting tools at the first row. And when I scroll back to the right, you will find Tableau at some point. And all these dots are links to solutions or blog posts where authors from the Tableau community describe in a blog post how to create that specific chart type. And whenever you get stuck at a certain chart type, go to this resource and you will always find a good blog that will help you to create what you want. Yeah, so these are two, I think, amazing resources that helped me on my journey, and I'm sure they will help you too. Okay, Jim, anything to add from your side?
At this point, I'm looking forward to the next session, and I'm seeing questions show up both in the Q&A and the chat that would indicate there's quite a few people looking at going into the next session in some more advanced charting.
Okay.
I think we're ready to move on to the star of the show.
Yeah, Heidi. Okay, again, we're great to have you here today, and Heidi's quick tips are really famous. She's been at conference with these quick tips, in person, virtual conferences, and get ready to be blown away by Heidi. And Heidi, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you for the kind introduction. Let me share my screen. I've set myself a timer for 30 minutes, and I'm actually going to start this now. So I'll try not to go over too much, because once I get to talking about tips in Tableau, I'm difficult to stop. So hi everyone. I know Jim and Klaus already gave a brief introduction for anyone who joined late. My name is Heide Kalbe. I'm a senior consultant with Woodwork here in Germany. So I'm based in the north of Germany. It's very dark, cold, and usually wet and windy as well. But it's a lovely place, so come visit if you have the time. I've been using Tableau for the past 5 years, but no worries. For this session, I've tried to think back to what were the things that kind of stumped me when I first started out using Tableau, and what were the little things that blew my mind when I was just a few weeks or months into my journey of self-teaching Tableau. So I hope to show you a couple things that you maybe didn't know, or maybe some things that you did used to know but forgot again. So let's just delve right in. Yeah, I do have a slide about myself. So lots of things I do. You can find all of these tips on my blog, and I will definitely put the link in the chat later on, and I will also email Klaus so that he can put it in the follow-up email, etc. So no worries. Even if you get lost during my session, you will definitely be able to read up on everything. So let's take a look. One of the things I love is right-click dragging elements. So I'm actually, can I get rid of? All right. Sorry, I had to get rid of the video panel. So sometimes you want to use a measure in Tableau, and Tableau will often try to give you the sum of your measure, which is oftentimes fine. But right now I'm looking at the time it takes me to ship. So the time from order date to shipping date. And I don't want to sum that up, because it doesn't make sense to sum up the days. So instead, maybe I want to use the average instead. But I don't only want the average. I'm also interested in the median, minimum, and maximum, and maybe even in the number of orders that get shipped with a certain ship mode. But instead of dragging everything into the view and then right-clicking, going to measure and changing it, I can also simply right-click drag my fields into the view. So use the right button of the mouse to drag this into the view, and you can see that this little window pops up. So Tableau says, you use this special mouse button, so you obviously want something special. And now I can choose what kind of aggregation I'm interested in. So I can use the minimum. I can do that again to use the maximum, again, right-click dragging into the view. And I can even do that with dimensions. So I said I'm interested in the number of orders. So let's look for the order ID, right-click drag that into columns. And Tableau says, you obviously want to aggregate. So do you want the count or the count distinct? And I'm interested in the count distinct. And that's a very quick way of shaping the fields the way you want them. And not only can you do that with measures and for counting dimensions, you can also do this with date fields. And that's my personal favorite because it has helped me so much. So when you have a date field, you know, when you, let's take the ship date, when you bring that into the view, Tableau will automatically give you the discrete year. Then you can go into the menu and try to find the field that you're interested in. But A, it doesn't have all the options in here, and B, that means that I first have to load the view and then reload it. So it's not possibly not the most performance friendly way of doing things. So what I propose you do instead, you right click drag your field into the view, and then you get this lovely list of things you can possibly do with your field, with your date field. So I personally am interested in the discrete quarters, so I can simply click that. And one fun thing, which is a bit difficult to notice, but once you know it's there, you will always find it again. You can tell whether a field is discrete or continuous by looking at the color of the icon on the left-hand side. So you can see ship date continuous. Okay, it says continuous, but also the calendar symbol is green, and for discrete, it's blue. And the same goes for the others. So all of this block up here, these are all blue, and then the next one, these are all green, and again green, and then the attribute is blue again. So you can tell whether the field is going to be discrete or continuous. I said I'm interested in my discrete quarter, so let's choose that. And you can see that Tableau gives me the quarter without having to resort to the year first, bringing in quarter, throwing out year, etc. So that's a feature I personally love a lot. And yeah, the fun thing is you can also do that with date time fields, and you can see, so before we had a date field, this is a date time field, and you can see the list grows. So lots and lots of options. Right click dragging, definitely one of my favorite things. I use that probably 200 times a day. I cannot recommend this to be enough. And that's the extent of my speech. No, sorry, I have more tips. I love this one a lot. All right, default properties. So you remember Tableau will automatically give me the sum of time to ship, and that's because we tell Tableau to do that. The thing is, Tableau does very few things without us telling Tableau to do it. So you just need to know what you want and how to tell Tableau what you want, which seems simple. So in my case, I always, well, not always, obviously, but usually want to see the average of time to ship. And I can do that by going to time to ship in the data pane. So this on the left is the data pane. Right click and go to default properties. And you can see I have a number of things here that I can choose. For example, aggregation. And this should always, or at least usually, be the average. And please take a look at what happens to the axis. So you can see at the moment it says average time to ship. If I change the default property to average, you can see that that vanishes because Tableau assumes that we know what we're doing. And because this is the default, it is the average, which will always be the way we use the fields. Tableau doesn't seem fit to tell us that anymore. And if I drag it into the view again, you can see that Tableau automatically takes the average now. So that can make your life quite a bit easier. I'm also interested in changing the number format. So because these are all numbers, and let's actually label this. And maybe if my colleagues look at this, they will go, okay, 2.284. What exactly are we talking about here? And I want to make it very obvious that we are talking about days and maybe not give it 3 decimal places. So again, let's go time to ship in the data pane, default properties and number format. And let's change this to a number, a custom number. Maybe 1 decimal place is enough, and I want this to show as days. I could just do the D. I want it very, very obvious, so I'll just type out all of this. And you can see that it changes everywhere. And not just in this sheet, this will have changed in every other sheet where I have already used it. And if I ever use this in a future sheet within this workbook, you will see that Tableau automatically takes the average and shows up in days. So very, very powerful, especially if you hate formatting as much as I do. This will save you hours of work. Definitely do this. You can, of course, later on still change the formatting sheet specifically by as the guys showed earlier, right-click and formatting. This will be more specific than the general setting, but the general setting will come into play everywhere where you do not have a specific setting. So makes your work a lot easier, believe me. All right, one more thing. I want to change the sorting. So you can say that same-day delivery is obviously faster than premium shipping, which is again faster than standard shipping. And I want that to show. And sure, I could either change this manually, or I could change it in this view automatically based on the measures I have in the view. But honestly, I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to do this every time. I want a logical sort that I know will usually be correct. So I can go to ship mode in the data pane, right click, go to default properties and change the sort. And if I do that, I can go to manual sort and let's bring same day delivery to the top. And again, in every sheet where I will use this in the future, Tableau will use this exact same sorting. So again, a change that affects the whole workbook and will make your life easier. Oh, I talked for 10 minutes about right-click dragging. Well, I said it is a favorite topic of mine. Let's talk a bit about commenting. So we actually are staying a bit on the topic of default properties, because you can also add comments. And the beauty of comments is that when you hover over a field, Tableau will usually tell you the exact field name, but you can change the thing that shows up in the mouse over. For example, state label seems to be a bit over the place. I mean, you can see some of these have the abbreviations, some have the whole country name, and I mean, these at the bottom seem to be backwards. So what exactly is going on then? I can hover over this field, and if I have added a comment in here, it will show up. And not just in the view, also in the, well, not the ship mode, also in the data pane. And we can change that again by right click, going to default properties and comment. And to make sure that this is really, really ridiculous. You can even change the color and everything. So this is super helpful. I use this all the time when I have very technical names that I don't want to change because I need to talk to the IT people about my data, but also I want to know what's going on. So I simply put the actual name in the tooltip or well, in the comment, or give it a quick input info about how to use this field. So I can definitely vouch for that, especially if you are using data sources together with other people, because this will also be saved, same as all the other default properties, when you publish data sources. So very valuable. If you have complicated fields, you can right click edit those, and let's actually move this to the right screen. One thing I want to say, always have this little triangle open on the right-hand side. I personally didn't notice this for the first like 5 months of using Tableau, and this has saved my life and my sanity on several occasions. Also, if you click your control button and scroll, you can make this larger, which is especially nice with screen sharing sessions such as this, but also I'm too tired to wear my glasses all the time, so this has helped me as well. Anyway, if you have long calculations and you want to bring some structure into them, because either you share the data source with a colleague and they need to know what's going on, or because you know that you will probably forget what you've done 2 months from now. So it can be nice to add in some comments. So you can either do that in line, so simply add 2 forward slashes and bring in some comment that you have here, or you can do this on a new line. This is where it gets complex. Well, not really. And you can even comment out lines. So let's say I don't want to have the state label in upper values, but I don't want to delete it because maybe I will decide otherwise later on, you can simply add in 2 forward slashes at the front, and Tableau will completely ignore this line and simply skip to the next one. So that can be nice when you are trying out things in calculations. And you can even do that for whole blocks. So for example, I wouldn't want to put two forward slashes into every single line of this. So I can simply put a forward slash asterisk at the front and then asterisk forward slash at the end. And you can see that this whole block gets grayed out. So that can be very nice if you are working on things. And you can see that I also promised you hidden information. So usually when you click on a function, well, I don't have any here, Tableau will give you a brief description of what's going on in the field, or what's going on with this function, how it works, and a brief example. And this works also when you click on your own calculated fields. So I can click on states reversed, and you can say that you can see that Tableau shows me what the calculation is and what the field type is and whether it's a valid calculation or not. So that can be helpful as well, because it saves you the effort of opening this up, editing, and then returning back to the field that you were actually working on, because you can simply click on this and see what's going on here. All right. Axes. You will work a lot with axes in Tableau because that's why you are using Tableau. If you didn't use axes ever, you were either only doing pie charts, which is not ideal, or only doing tables, which is not ideal either. So please bring in axes of any kind. And there are 4 drop zones that you should know about. Let's talk about number 1. Okay, I have sales here at the moment. I want to replace this using profit. And of course, I could simply drop it right on the field and columns, but we're talking about the axis. And you can do that on the axis as well. So you can see if I hover over it, there's this little rectangle on the top left-hand corner. And if I drop my field here, you can see sales vanishes, and instead I have profit now. If I want to have them beside each other, I can drag it to the end of the axis. So either to the left-hand side or to the right-hand side or up and down in a vertical axis. And you can see that Tableau shows me this little dotted line or dashed line and the 2 axes next to each other. And if I drop it there, that's where Tableau will place my measure. And that works also if I bring in another measure, I can also drop it in between the 2. So always the dashed line and the 2 axes next to each other. What if I don't want to have them next to each other? What if I want them directly on top of each other? So essentially I want to combine the 2 into a combined axis, obviously. I can drag this onto the axis and you will see these 2 little green rulers on top of each other. That's what Tableau means when we combine elements here. And that's the one. And your 4th drop zone is on the opposite side. So let's say I want to bring in quantity as well. I don't want to drop it on the same axis because combined axes only make sense if you have the same unit, and we currently have monetary units here, and quantity is in pieces. So I don't want it on the same axis. I want it on the secondary axis on the opposite side. So in this case, opposite side is at the top. And again, you can see the dashed line and this 1 green ruler. And if I drop it there, I will have a dual axis, which you can also see in the columns because they have this kind of edgy border going on. All right, let me take a sip of tea. I feel like I forgot one. Yeah, all right. If you have used a field, not a field, a sheet multiple times in the workbook, you may want to know, okay, where am I actually using this? Can I delete it safely? Why can I not delete this? And you can right click on the whatever this is called, and you can see used in, and you can see, okay, I use this in remove ABC and text tables, so I can directly click on this and jump there. And if I can't see it, well, it's actually in the tooltip. So that can be helpful if you want to figure out where you have used a sheet. All right. Using specific colors, Tableau will give us a load of colors. So if you go to color and edit colors, you can see we have lots and lots of color legends in here. I even have a couple extra that I inserted as custom color legends. But let's assume you don't have that and you don't know where to get it. Then you can simply double click on a field that you already have. And then you can either select one of the basic colors, or you can use this color picker to choose one out of 16 million colors in here. Or you can even pick a screen color. So let's say I'm interested in using the continuous green that Tableau uses. So I can simply pick a screen color and use this one and hit OK, and this will insert that here. Not really interested in this one, but you can also bring in your HTML code if you have that, or RGB, or whatever works for you. And if you know you're going to use this again later, simply drag it to custom colors, and that will kind of save it over there. All right, but what if we don't want to stack our bars? So I don't actually want to, so let's drag this one out. I actually want to show my sales, my profit ratio, and my weighted discount. Let's actually label these. Yeah, and I want to be able to color those. And let's think about what we want here. So I want to color sales by sales, profit ratio by profit ratio, and discount weighted by discount rated. But if I simply bring in sales to color, all of these will be colored by sales, which is not what I want. So let's think about it. I want to color what I have on my columns by what I have on my columns. So essentially, I want to color my measure values by measure values. So I will press Control and drag this to color. Now, the thing is that these values vary a lot. So we go from -8% to plus $30,000. And that is quite the range. And Tableau will automatically give us one color legend for everything. But I don't want that. I want separate color legends. And I can do that by right-clicking on measure values, which I have on color, and use separate legends. So now I can have my gray scale for sales, my orange to blue scale for profit ratio, and my gold to red scale for discount weighted. Sometimes you have a bar chart, and Tableau will usually, if you have a horizontal bar chart, put the name of the measure at the bottom. And you may not always want that. So sometimes you may just want to have sales on top. Sure, the easiest way of doing it is just put it in the sheet title, which I would always recommend. But if for any reason that's not an option, then you have a number of ways to make that happen. Way number one is, and I actually need to open up something for that, is just create an ad hoc calculation. So just double click in columns and type in sales here. What this will do is Tableau will create a calculation called sales in quotation mark, which contains sales for every row of your data. And because Tableau always shows you the name of the field and the content, this will show up twice. So simply right click and hide field labels, and that will work out fine. The thing is, this means that Tableau creates this string for every single row of your data. So if you have a very big data set, this may not be the most performance-friendly option for you. So I have two more ways to show you. One other option is to blend from a helper data source. Now, what is a helper data source? A helper data source is a data source that you specifically create for this use case. This will not be automated. It will probably never refresh. It's really just a one-time make my life easier thing. So you don't even bother saving it. Essentially, I just open up an Excel file. I type the name of the field and the content of the field. So I have to type it twice. I simply copy these two lines. I can even close this up if I want to. Return to Tableau and press Control V to paste. And this will, or it ideally should, yeah, this will open up a new sheet where my clipboard data source gets inserted. So you can see Tableau has entered a new data source, which contains exactly one row and one field. containing sales. And what I can do now is I can return to wherever I was just now. Let's scroll a bit. Yep, there we were. And go to my clipboard and simply bring in sales to columns. Tableau will give you a warning. In this case, you can ignore it. Usually, I would suggest heeding blending warnings. And you can see we now have this field in here. We can again hide field labels. And that's another way of labeling on top. One third way is using measure names. So let's simply bring in measure names, which is always the lowest field under dimensions. Move it to columns, and you have your measure names. Now, please remember this only works if you have just the one field in the view, just the one measure. In my case, I only have sum of sales. If you want to do this for multiple elements, similar as we did in the other sheet, this will work, but then you will need to use measure values. So that's a long way around, and I didn't show that in this case. There's two more options which you can use. I would usually try to avoid those, and you can read up on them in my blog. So let's use the rest of the time for some fancier tips. Labeling totals in stacked bars. So we have stacked bars here, and we want to label them. What we can do is press the T button. But the thing is, this will label every segment of my bars. And while helpful, I do want to know the total. Now, what I used to do in the past, I would create a dual axis, remove the detail, move it to the back, label, etc. And synchronize, don't forget that. But that's a lot of steps for not really that much value. So what I'm going to do instead is I want to create an invisible reference line. And we can do that by either right-clicking on the axis and add reference line, or you can go to the analytics pane and bring in a reference line, and this should be for the cell. So you can see cell gives us one line per bar, and that's exactly what we want. So let's bring this in, and you can see in the background that Tableau automatically creates a line for each bar, and that's essentially it. We don't really have to do a lot here. Simply label using the value, and you can see the values show up. I don't want to have a tooltip, and I definitely don't want to have a line. And that's how we make it invisible, because we don't want the line to show up. We just want the value. And one thing I would suggest in this case, you should untick show recalculated line for highlighted or selected data points, because that would mean that Tableau recalculates this non-existent line every time you click something, and you don't really want that in this case. Can be helpful in other cases. So now what can we do to make this a bit more obvious? We try to find the invisible line and format. This will open up a formatting menu on the left-hand side. First thing I would recommend is going to alignment, because you can see on the topmost bar, it kind of overlaps, the label overlaps with the label underneath. So instead, we always want to label on the right-hand side, which helps us out there. I also want to always show it in the middle of the bar. And then to make obvious that this is a really important number, we can make it bigger and wider. And if we go to numbers, we can even either bring in decimal places, or to move it a bit away from the line, we can add a prefix of simply a space, so that we can read it more easily. What if we want to show the totals of my bars? I know I have 3 minutes, so I can easily do this. If I want to show my totals, I can do that by going to Analytics pane and bringing in totals. But the thing is, I have these beautiful colors, and Tableau simply gives me a gray bar. But I want this bar to be stacked as well, same as the bars that I have in here. So what I can do is I can duplicate my field that I have on rows. Let's, where do we go? Chocolate product, right click, duplicate, and bring this to rows. And you can see that Tableau will automatically stack my bar now. Usually I would suggest to not duplicate fields if you can avoid it at all, but in this case, it can be a nice option to do that. All right, one more thing. When you work with date axes, especially when you show month and year, so the continuous month. Tableau will usually, if it has the space, type out the whole month in combination with the year. And honestly, that's not super helpful to me. So I want to show you how you can work around that. So we are going to right click and format. This will open up the axis menu for the month of my new order date. And we want to go into dates and we will scroll down to custom. Now, first off, I want to type in my year and let's show that this is a 2-digit year and I want to have the month after. So what I can do is I can type a single M, which will give me the single-digit month, or double-digit for the double-digit months. But if I want a leading 0, I can simply type in another M, and you can see this will give me a double-digit month with a leading 0. If I want an abbreviated month, so 3-letter abbreviation, I get a third M, and you can see it gives me the 3-letter abbreviation. If you want the full name of the month, which I just said I don't want, but if you want that, that's fine. You type in a 4th M. And if you want a single letter abbreviation, which is completely intuitive, you just type in a 5th M, and that will give you the single letter abbreviation. Please don't do this if you only have January, June, and July, and your fiscal year starts in April, because then this will horribly confuse people. I personally am a big fan of 3-letter abbreviation, but you do your thing, just type the appropriate number of M's in the custom format. And that's my 30-second counter. So instead of doing more, I will simply try to show you the thank you page. All of these tips are on my blog. Don't worry to type this down. I will definitely text it to you, or you can check it out in the recording. I hope I helped you a bit and have a lot of fun with these tips.
Heidi, you were great as usual. Chat is just absolutely blowing up. Knew you'd be the star of the show, but there was one question that came in. It has not a whole lot to do with the tip, but somebody wanted to know what ruby chocolate was. Is that?
Oh, yeah, it's a thing. To be fair, my friend Annabelle, who is living in Switzerland and an absolute expert on chocolate, added that one. But there's actually red chocolate. I ate some, and it's quite nice if you're into fruity chocolate. Mostly, it's pleasant on the eye.
Okay. And for those of you who don't know Annabelle, if you see Heidi and Annabelle do speed tipping together, it's exponentially mind-blowing. I mean, the two of them together, and they both talk very fast, but it just absolutely blows everybody's mind. There they are.
This
There
is
they
Annabelle,
are.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the list of all the tips I showed you, so you can
Yes,
figure this out.
absolutely.
Heidi,
Heidi,
I've seen these tips several times, and every time there are new things I did not know. This stacking stack total bar, I did not know that. That's cool. And like always, you can take something away from it, and it really doesn't matter if this is advanced or for newbies. It's always something new within it, and it was really great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to stop sharing my screen, but I can't figure it out. So if somebody can just share over me, that would be great.
Yeah, I will do that.
Sorry. Thanks.
Okay, good. I'm not sure. Jim, I don't think we have a Kahoot today, right?
No, I don't believe we do.
I'm sorry,
We'll
I
have to
do
it
have
next
the
time.
Kahoot ready. Sorry, I
Oh,
forgot to let you guys
okay.
know. Yeah,
Oh,
might
Perfect.
not be as good
surprise.
as Enid's, but I do have something for everybody.
Okay, do you want to take over, Laura?
Yeah, I can take over. Give me a minute. I try to get a link out, but you can give me a minute. Let me just get this ready.
I think this is the fun part of being on Tableau newbie. Every time we learn new stuff. Although we say we have been using Tableau for so many years now. Look at Klaus. Even he saw some of these tips which were new for him. So that's wonderful.
Heidi, there was one thing you might want to add to your bringing that axis label to the top is using dual axis with null. And this way you won't duplicate the marks.
Interesting one. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My sorry
And
about
here
that,
we
guys.
have another tip.
Yeah, I am starting the. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to start the
No.
Kahoot. It's been a while since I did it, so. Okay. It's taking its time loading everything, so sorry about that. Okay. I'm not sure if you can hear it. I'll mute myself, but let me close the volume. Okay. Let me share my screen and I will be, give me a minute. You can find the link in the chat. I'm adding it there. Let me share my screen really quick. Yeah, so if you can see, oh, sorry. Oh no. If you guys can see the Kahoot, like, let me know. So the pin is 9625486. I see you, Axel. Awesome.
Those are some interesting abbreviations for the name.
OZ, not OZ. Oz, yeah. WP, okay. QOD, okay. We do have a lot of people joining. Awesome. I will give it a few more minutes and then I'll start. I know we're like running short on time. There's only 6 questions and they should go by pretty quick. Okay. I'm just waiting because it says we have almost 250 participants and I'm trying to see if we'll get at least 100. Wow. Good, everybody. Amazing. And give it one more minute just so we can get the last people in. Okay, I am gonna get started. I'm gonna wait for at least 1:30. 2 more people if they join.
Come on, 2
Come
more,
on, people, 2 more
130.
people. Yes,
2 more people.
awesome.
Yes.
I'm gonna go start. Thank you so much. Okay, somebody left, but it's okay. Thank you. I'm gonna start now. So here we go. I have the audio disabled because it's a bit loud, but I can enable it. So it's quiz, first one. There was 2 answers, so whatever we chose. Okay. Not Control F, guys, but thank you.
Control F was the default reaction, you know.
I have done that actually, so I just wanted to share that with everybody. Next question. Oh, we'll probably see. Oh, okay. Okay, KK. Okay. Awesome. I'm gonna move on to the next question. Awesome, guys.
UOD could be Heide, right?
I don't know. Oh, wow. Okay.
I like the first option. You cannot.
I do have some silly ones. Let me move on to who jumped and oh, okay. Oh, Steve first. Awesome. Maria, Chaitanya, HYLTN. New people. Awesome. I'm gonna move on to the next question. Sorry about that. It's taking its time. I believe the question might be kind of tough to answer, but Jim did this to make sure that both axes, there's two axes and then it went to one. So you use something to make sure that it did that. Okay. So it was the master names. I actually was following the presentation and made some questions. So if you paid good attention, then you might get some of them. So, okay. Ooh, Maria A, HYL Emma. We have some new people on the scoreboard.
Oh,
Moving on to the
nice.
next question. Oh, sorry. That's from Heidi's presentation. So
This is interesting.
yeah,
People
it was
should
very
be-
specific and I really
Yeah.
dig that. Sorry, guys. I thought it was cool and I'm like, wait, let me make sure everybody, okay, I'm gonna, so yeah, there's a lot of people who understood that.
Yay.
Amazing, amazing, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember Heidi going through that, so I was like, I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see who is doing really good. Oh wow, HYL. I don't know if that's a name, but sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. The fifth question. That is a very odd one that I chose, but I didn't really know how to exactly dig into it.
You Google this helper. Epic.
I do have some random choices.
I mean, it's not wrong. If you don't know, just Google it and you'll probably
Yeah.
find the
Right.
answer.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I just want to be specific.
Yeah.
Okay. We did have
That's
people,
nice.
but yeah, awesome. The next question. Oh, Emma, wonderful. You skipped a lot. Thank you. I hope you guys are having fun. This is the last one, I believe. Yeah, 6 of 6. This is a very long answer. I thought it was really cool. So it's the same way that a lot of other things are done. I have some typos in here. Sorry about that.
We didn't notice until you said it.
Yeah, I just noticed it. Awesome. Oh, okay. Look at you. Look at everybody. I'm so happy everybody was like having fun. Okay. let me-
Yes.
The next one. Okay, we have the podium. So, ooh, 5 out of 6 TN. That's a third person. Awesome. Ooh, congrats.
Hi,
Who's gonna be? Is it Emma? I feel like it
Emma,
might be.
Emily.
Ooh,
Emma.
Preston.
Preston.
Oh, wow. Awesome, guys.
Congrats.
We do have all the runner-ups.
Marty and Emily as the
I'm just gonna take a screenshot of this. If Preston, if you could email us, if you could send us your email and the host and panelist in the chat, that would be really great. You can do that. Give me a minute. Yeah, let me just take a screenshot of this. Sorry, guys.
That was awesome, Laura. Nice one.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
That was a lot of fun, Laura. Thank you for doing that. And there were some notes in the chat that you obviously couldn't see.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't. The chat like went away from me. I didn't want to share the chat with everybody else, so I kind of
Yeah,
dropped
cool.
that down.
People were commenting how cool it was that you made the questions up from today's presentation.
Yeah,
So
no, I
thank
was
you for
looking
doing
at
that. That was
something else,
great.
and then,
That was great.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
yeah,
lot of fun.
Thank you.
Klaus, we got a couple minutes. Let's talk about what's happening next.
Yeah.
You want to pull your screen up?
Okay, it's only a couple of weeks away. So we will meet in December 1st. We already have set up the welcome page, so you can already sign up I think Viraj and Reyes and Laura will share the link in the chat. Just grab that link and sign up for the next meeting. And we will have, I think, one of the most requested topics so far. We will have Carl from the InfoLab with us, and he will talk about Tableau prep. So next session will be about basic visualizations too. So Jim and I will again show some visuals, and then Carl will do a deep introduction into Tableau prep. And I'm really excited about that one.
And just to reiterate that Tableau prep comes up every meeting as a topic that people want to see. So we know you want to see it, and Carl is great, and you're just going to enjoy the next session. Heidi, thank you again. It's a lot of fun today. I hope everybody had a good time, and hope to see you on December the 1st.
Yeah,
come back and see us.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks, everyone, for joining.